Good afternoon. I am Dr. Reyes. I'm a psychiatrist and I am here to discuss live, is there a depression? Is there an epidemic of depression in our country? And here to accept the burning questions if there is a rise of depression. So what is depression? Basically, what we're going to be talking about is the clinical depression. Depression is being depressed or having a low mood most of the day. This is also characterized by either also losing interest. This is called anhedonia. What used to make you happy, now you don't have any interest on it anymore. And these two key factors, the depression and anhedonia, has to be accompanied by other things. This has to be with weight loss, easy fatigability or easily tired, or difficulty in concentrating, becoming withdrawn from your social affiliates, and basically, at the worst, then you start having thoughts of death or suicide. Now, if you have most of these things, then you might have what we call the clinical depression. And what usually leads to depression, this is it coalesces from psychological, biological, and social factors. Usually, if there is trauma or a trigger, such as losing a husband, this is part of the social part. And then if you are biological predisposed, such as having a family with a mental illness, and of course if you have a poor social background or poor social support. And usually you're also predisposed depending on your personality. The health risks and the impact of depression is really grave. That's why we're here to really educate you about it, because it's not just a regular, oh, I'm sad, but it actually affects the person's life, and it has a big impact. Sometimes it can paralyze the person, not physically, but the person doesn't move, the person doesn't want to work, the person doesn't even want to be with anyone. And because of these, when they have all of these, then it worsens what they're already feeling. It validates their feelings sometimes of being worthless or hopeless. And when they feel that and they also don't move anymore, then it becomes a vicious cycle. So they actually lose relationships, sometimes they lose work, and they lose whatever they have. The factors that affect the rise of depression in our country, I have to say that it is also the degradation of our social unit, the basic social unit, which is the family. A lot of families now are either broken, either because of their relationship or because of becoming OFWs. And yes, our spirituality has also gone down. And basically, there's also the advent of social media, which is good in some areas and bad in some areas, because now people tend to be able to compare themselves more with others. Alright, so now we're going to be talking about questions that came in previously from the social media. As I have mentioned earlier, yes. Because sometimes, when they're already depressed, they tend to compare themselves, and then they're seeing good things only in social media. And of course, nobody posts, bad things about themselves. And a depressed person would tend to think, okay, everything is perfect in the other person's life, but not mine. This is a very good question. As I have mentioned earlier, we have strict criteria. Actually, we have a 2-week period of prolonged depression or anhedonia. We have to have the feelings of worthlessness and hopelessness, and we also have this thoughts of death or suicidal ideations. Now, if you have all of these, then this is not normal anymore. If basically the other differentiating factor is functionality. Sometimes we get stressed, sometimes we get sad, but your functionality is not affected. You're still able to go to work, you're still able to do your work as a mother, you're still able to function and be with friends. As I mentioned earlier, these are the feelings of worthlessness, hopelessness, thoughts of death, and suicidality, especially suicidality. At any time a person starts saying, okay, even the subtle ones such as, I wish I was never born, or I wish tomorrow I won't wake up, then I think that's a time to seek for help. Yes, the antidepressants work really well because I have mentioned earlier, one of the factors of getting depression or predisposing us to depression is biological. And biological meaning there is deficiency of neurotransmitter in your brain. That's why you really do have the biological depression or the clinical depression. And one of the things that is lacking in your brain is serotonin, and the antidepressants adds the serotonin, which is the neurotransmitter in your brain. It actually increases the supply, and actually it is very safe. I always call it the supplement for the brain because technically we are supplying what it does not have or what it lacks. So what does it do to your brain? It's actually some antidepressants are actually very neuroprotective. Okay, your depression, it depends on the level. If it's mild depression, then you can just probably go for psychotherapy. But if it is moderate to severe, it is better to be treated with both. Yes, medical help is very important. Seeking a psychiatrist or seeking a medical professional such as a psychologist is very important because we want to decrease the amount of time this patient is missing out on life. I mentioned earlier, yes, depression can actually probably lift in about 6 months or so, but if we don't treat it aggressively, it has a tendency to come back more severe and more frequent. Yes, as I have mentioned the neurotransmitter earlier, that's serotonin, that is responsible also for your sleep, that is also responsible sometimes for your feeling the pain in your body, that is sometimes there's really no physical source of it, but it's actually from your depression itself. There'll be an increase like back pains, usually the back pains are most common. If you have clinical depression, and as I have said, if this is from moderate to severe, then yes. This is one of my passions. No, it is not contagious. The mental illness, ladies and gentlemen, are not contagious. This can be inherited, but it cannot be transferred just so that, if you're talking to someone or you just touch someone, no, it's not contagious. The best approach you can do to her is just tell her that you're there and ready to listen. Tell her that you will not judge her, whatever she wants to tell you. And just validate her feelings. When she tells you she's depressed, when she tells you she's having a hard time, just validate it. Don't need to really try to solve her problems. Just be there to listen. Now, if you're starting to hear, as I've said before, any suicidal thoughts or any thoughts of death, even the subtle ones, then you have to refer or ask her to seek for professional help. It has been on the rise. School bullying has been on the rise, and children has been depressed recently, more than over the past decades. What can you do? Of course, dear children, they do get sad. Please do not belittle their sadness. Do not brush it off. Children can get depressed. Listen to them. Be supportive of them. Try to teach them or work with them and create strategies with them how to stand up to this bully. And then at the most, you can also talk to the teachers and report the bully. Yes, we have the regular depression. You have your regular normal depression that, as I've said earlier, this is just sadness. It comes and goes, but you're still able to function. Then you have the major depressive disorder or the unipolar disorder that we call, which is characterized by the numbers I have mentioned earlier too. And then we have the bipolar depression, which is still characterized with such, although you will have some history of mania. Then you will also have what we used to call dysthymia or persistent depressive disorder. This is a milder form. This is actually the basic healthy lifestyle that you have to consider. You have to eat well, you have to sleep at least 8 hours, and you have to have exercise, and you basically also have to learn how to be mindful of things, or how to live in the here and now. When I say that you'll have to live in the here and now, try to live where you're at. Like if this is Tuesday or Wednesday, then I'm going to be only on a Tuesday, and I'll think about my problems on a Tuesday. Yes, I'll be planning ahead of time, but I'll stay here on Tuesday. I won't worry of what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen to me or whatever, but I'll stay here. I'll try to be mindful of what I have. I'll try to be thankful of what I have. Okay, medications, you're taking your medications. Usually the guidelines, the research guidelines will tell you that you should be taking it 6 months from the time that you start getting better. So you don't start counting when you start taking your medication. You start counting from the time you start getting better. So if you take the medication in January, you start feeling better in March, then you start 6 months from there, and then maybe your doctor will taper it down. So actually 6 months to a year is the recommended term for intake of medication. And as far as being vulnerable in front of doctors, I understand how you feel, but do remember that your doctors are there and they will not judge you, and everything that you tell them is confidential. So I hope that you can be more comfortable and be able to open to them with that thought. Okay, now I would really like to address the stigma of depression. I would really want to tell you that depression is very much different also from going crazy. Just because a person is depressed, just because a person wants to seek help, does not mean they are crazy. And even actually being crazy, ladies and gentlemen, actually should not be stigmatized, so should not be looked upon, because there's a lot of, this is really a biological disorder, it's really a disease just like any other. There are a lot of there's a lot of evidence out there that tells you that this is actually, there's something happening in the brain. So if you will not discriminate somebody with diabetes, please do not discriminate a person with depression or any mental illness for that matter. And this can be treated. If treated early, that you won't even notice that they have it. Further on for the stigma, I just really, this is my pet peeve. It's usually when people tells them that, oh, they're gonna see a psychiatrist, the very first thing they think of is they're crazy. You know, the psychiatrist or the psychologist, they don't usually just get crazy people. And we actually help those who are stressed, who are just, even if you're just plain sad, even if there's normal sadness, we can help you cope better. I think everybody who's gone through therapy is a better person after, because we have actually learned how to see the world better. And basically, as I was saying earlier, having depression is normal. If you have a family that has been depressed, if you have family who can't move, you will understand what depression is really all about. There is a rise of depression. There has been a documented rise by the WHO from 2005 to 2015 that it actually there was a rise from 6.6% to 12.7%. So that's like double. So is there an epidemic? Well, we can call it more of a rise, and it is like a big increase. Are we saying that there was really a number or increased number of people who are afflicted? Yes. But then there is also that factor also of being more aware of the condition as well and seeking consult. Please do not tell your friends who has depression, oh, it's just all in your head, this is all drama, I mean, you just don't want to move, you're just lazy. Please hold. Really, please hold those derogatory comments. These depressed people, they believe me, they really want to move. I've seen people crying because they want to move, they want to be able to function, they want to be able to be with their family, but they cannot. Now, if you would only see a really depressed individual, there are biological evidences, there are PET scans that will show you there's really something wrong in their brain. Please believe us and help us by at least, if you cannot, that's what they have always said, if you cannot say anything good, don't say anything. If you don't understand, then please don't make the situation worse by saying something that will make or hurt them. Okay, that's all the time we have for today. Tune in again next Wednesday for another CMI TV Live again. Again, I am Dr. Marie Pearl Reyes-Dimaano. Thank you and have a great weekend.